trouble? Look right in my face.
Tout ceci est ma terre d'Allemagne.
From sci-fi spectacles, a maestro's meltdown and the king's megawatt smile, the Oscars are back in full force. We'll be going through the nominations in our weekly film show with critic Ben Croll. Hi, Ben.
And I'm also back in full force.
Indeed. This year's Academy Award nominations saw the fantasy adventure Everything Everywhere All at Once lead the pack with 11 nominations, joining blockbusters Avatar: The Way of Water, Top Gun: Maverick and Elvis in a blockbuster-heavy Oscar race this year. Ben, tell us a bit more about the pictures competing for Best Film. The field looks a bit more bombastic than usual.
Yeah, it's definitely more bombastic than usual. You know, it's been a tough couple of years for the theatrical film business, and you've seen Best Picture winners that have been kind of smaller in scale as well. Chloe Zhao's Nomadland, Xi'an Hader's Coda, kind of smaller films, and that won Best Picture for the past couple of years. And now this year, by nominating Top Gun, Elvis, Avatar, it's the studio's way of saying, we're back, baby, and we're bigger than ever. And you know what? They're absolutely right. I mean, Top Gun and Avatar not only topped the U.S. box office, they also topped the French box office. They're also some of the most successful films of all time. And I think in a tough theatrical environment, it was important for the Academy to hitch their wagon to the films that really brought moviegoers back to theaters all across the globe.
Those films will be familiar to some of us who were at the big festivals last year.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, this is really a victory lap for all of the major film festivals. Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans won the People's Choice Award at Toronto. Ruben Östlund's Triangle of Sadness won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Tar from Todd Field and The Banshees of Inisherin from Martin McDonagh won the Best Actor prize and Best Actress prize at the Venice Film Festival, and will probably do the same at the Oscars. All four of those films were nominated for Best Picture, all four of those films were nominated for Best Director, and all four will face some very steep competition from Everything Everywhere All at Once, a film that is not really that same kind of prestige fare. It's something wholly different. Why don't we take a look?
There's no way I am the Evelyn you are looking for. Every rejection, every disappointment has led you here. To this moment. Don't let anything distract you from it.
The film follows an immigrant mother, played by Michelle Yeoh of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, who can basically tap into infinite versions of herself from infinite different realities. As such, the film is kind of conventional in that it's about an immigrant family dealing with, finding their place in America, but filtered through a pop culture kaleidoscope. It changes styles and visual approaches, not only from scene to scene, but sometimes within the same shot. I think of it something like Kill Bill, only mainlining internet adult ADHD for another 20 years.
Yeah, it's certainly a one-off. Now, were there any big surprises among the nominations this year?
There were two big surprises. First is a film called All Quiet on the Western Front. That might sound familiar. It's another adaptation of the acclaimed World War I novel, this time done in German with an all-German cast. It's a Netflix project, and it's been out on Netflix since about October. It didn't get much fanfare. It didn't get the same fanfare that some of Netflix's other more prestigious projects did, but it won voters over. An even bigger surprise is the film To Leslie, which stars Andrea Riseborough, a very well-loved character actor who's probably not a big star outside of, film circles. She had a surprise Best Actress nomination for a film that was seen by almost nobody, that made almost no money, but was loved by the right people. In the days leading up to the voting and during the voting, stars like Cate Blanchett, Jane Fonda, and Edward Norton really came to bat for her and publicized her on Twitter and promoted her campaign, and now here she is as Best Actress nominee.
Okay, well, you mentioned Cate Blanchett there, and you mentioned the music drama Tar, which was nominated for 6 Oscars, which opens in French cinemas today. Before we chat about that film, let's get a feel for the movie.
I'm worried. She's starting to disappear into herself.
You want to dance the mask, you must service the composer. You gotta supplement yourself, your ego, and yes, your identity. must, in fact, stand in front of the public and God and obliterate yourself.
Okay, Ben, what's your take? Because many critics have said that this is Cate Blanchett's finest performance.
Yeah, I myself am one of them. Cate Blanchett is extraordinary, playing an acclaimed conductor, a genius, convinced of her own genius, and thus blind to her own moral and ethical shortcomings. The film channels the larger questions of the Me Too era, questions about power imbalance, questions about, whether art can excuse abhorrent behavior, but it does so in a very stylish and effective way.
Okay, so there's a lot of balls to juggle there. How does that all play out on screen?
Oh my God, it purrs like a sports car. The director, Todd Field, came up as an actor, worked with Stanley Kubrick in Eyes Wide Shut, and has spent the past 2 decades, he's directed 2 other films called In the Bedroom and Little Children, but for the most part, he spent the past 2 decades as a very slick commercial director, and he brings all of those influences to bear here. The film is a moral allegory. It's also a psychological thriller about a control freak who doesn't realize until it's too late that her own life is spinning out of control. And you sort of experience this hurricane from the eye of the storm. It's very calm until all of a sudden it's not. It's a very sleek and effective film that's a study of a very strange character told from a very skewed perspective, and it's really a fantastic picture.
Okay, well, I for one cannot wait to see it. Well, this week's French release takes us on a detour, funnily enough, to South Korea for Davy Chou's return to Seoul. Before we chat about that one, let's take a look.
프랑스 사람 같진 않은데.
그게 무슨 상관이야? 자, 우리 만났으니까 짠!
C'est que je suis arrivée en Corée un peu par surprise.
C'est ta mère?
Biologique, je pense, oui.
Tu vas essayer de retrouver tes parents? Pourquoi non?
Mais je suis française.
T'es aussi un peu coréenne.
Votre prénom de naissance est Yeon-hee. On pourrait dire docile et joyeuse.
So this film was Cambodia's entry for Best International Feature in the Academy Awards. Sadly, it didn't make the cut. Tell us more about it, though.
No, it didn't make the cut, but that still no reason to skip this film. It's really fascinating, and the fact that it's a Cambodian film, the fact that it's a French film, the fact that it's called Return to Seoul, it speaks to the malleability of identity. This film follows a young French woman who was born in Korea, raised by her adoptive parents in France, who returns to the country of her birth, kind of impulsively at first, and it follows her over the course of about a decade as she keeps on returning to Seoul, as the title might say, while always changing and trying on different identities. The film is based on a true story, based on a friend of director Davy Chou, but it's not really about French identity. It's not really about Korean identity. It's more about the sense of malleability and possibility that we have when we're in our 20s, trying on different possible futures, trying on different possible pasts, and always changing, feeling a little bit astray in the large sea of life, but also totally alive in the moment. And that's one of the really strong suits with Davy Chou's Return to Seoul.
So an interesting exploration of identity there, then. Well, we'll close today's show with a look at My French Film Festival. That's an online showcase that runs until February 13th. This is a bit of a nifty web platform, right?
Oh, it's a really, really cool initiative. My French Film Festival now is in its 13th year, and it offers a spotlight. It offers a curated selection of about 30 features and shorts all together from a lot of dynamic new talents. These are filmmakers that bring films to the major festivals that we spoke about before. But, the problem with the marketplace right now is that not all of the best films get international distribution. And so here's this initiative that takes some of the most interesting and dynamic new voices and new films and puts them online for the entire world to see. Now, it's not free. You should go to myfrenchfilmfestival.com to actually see how you can access these titles, but they're subtitled in 12 different languages, and they're on 70 VOD platforms. They are going to be free in Africa, across Africa, and Latin America, Southeast Asia, South Korea, Romania, Russia, and Ukraine, payable in other territories, but all of them are extremely interesting and extremely accomplished, bits of new French cinema. Couple of examples. There are the Isabelle Huppert drama about Joan, which played at Berlin, the César winner for Best First Film, Magnetic Beats, and the documentary We from director Alice Diop. Now, you might remember the name Alice Diop. She also directed Saint-Omer, which she did after the film We. And so to go on to My French Film Festival is to discover these talents that are going to be shaping and reshaping international cinema in the years to come.
Excellent. It's certainly one that you can check out wherever you are in the world, guaranteed.
Anywhere there's an internet connection, there is My French Film Festival.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for this week's update, Ben. We'll leave you with a short clip of My French Film Festival. Do check out our website for more arts and culture. We're on social media too. Join us here next time on France 24.